Hi there, thanks for joining me today. If you're new here, I'm Catherine. Welcome. I usually turn on my camera and work for 30 minutes. And that's what I share in my videos, whatever I get done in that approximately 30 minutes. Sometimes, quite often, I go a little bit over time, but I talk a lot. And I make journals out of old books, and I try my best to fill them with repurposed, wonderful treasures, so that my junk journals really are made from junk. Well, other people's junk. You and I, we don't think they're junk. It's beautifully discovered treasures that someone else owned. So the last time we got together, I said that this time we get together, that the template most likely will be all sewn. And indeed, we have a sewn together text block. Yeah, I said template before, didn't I? And I'm pretty sure I did. Let's just forget that. And the text block is all sewn together. So that's nice. I'm going to put the cover to the side. And I said that we would work together and I would show you my plans for this off-center, the fabric that is used to put in a hidden hollow back spine for those of us who make this kind of junk journal. It's certainly not necessarily, it's a play on the way actual books with hidden hollow back spines are put together. This is how I think it works best for junk journals, and it works out pretty. So what we're going to do is first get these my big favorite paper clips off. So let's do that. I find sliding them off in a circular motion is the safest way to do it, because sometimes they do want to tear the paper. If you try and just yank them straight off like that, they will sometimes try. So just give them a little bit of a spin and slide them off that way. It makes it less bulky. If you feel it tugging, just try and wiggle it the other way in case one of these ends is trying to dig into your beautiful papers and make your beautiful journal need extra tender loving care. So just swirl those off. There you go. I learned that little trick the hard way from trying to moving fast and just trying to shove it right off the edge. And one of these one time just grabbed it and did an accordion dig into the paper, and then I had to do some collaging on both sides. So, and that's a way to cover up if you do have that happen. So that's all ready. It's all nice and even there. There's one signature that appears to be, so signature number 2 appears to be, so one or two of the folios are a little bit longer. It's not that noticeable. There are ways to deal with that if you had one that was way too noticeable. I'm not going to worry about that tiny little bit, but there are things you can do. Usually the best thing to do if that's the case is to get out your sanding block and to just give it a little bit of a sand. Take care not to sand your fabric, but just get out your sanding block, give it a little bit of a sand, and that will usually get your folio even and looking spiffy. And then of course, especially because this is a lacy journal, I will be putting lace along this edge, and that will also camouflage it. Another good way to camouflage it is if you have jute or something thick, a slightly thicker than string cord, and glue a piece along there, and then glue this back, and it gives you like your own little head and foot band, and that also helps to camouflage if you find that either your head or your foot of your text block isn't aligned perfectly. I always aim, because we tend to look at books from the top down, I always aim for my top, the head, to always be aligned perfectly. And that way, because I am not a meticulous measurer, or because sometimes, in spite of my greatest efforts, they can still once in a while have a few that are slightly askew down here. I just aim for the top, hope for the best for the bottom, and it usually works out. Once in a while it doesn't, and then that's when you take matters into your hands and camouflage it. So quite frankly, I think that that's fine. I'm not, the lace really isn't even a camouflage in this case, because I'm looking at it and that looks nice to me. I'm quite happy with that. Now, what we're going to do now is, when this goes into the text block, into the cover, pardon me, as I've mentioned previously, feel free to go back and watch previous episodes on Perfect Womanhood. I have purposefully made the text block not centered onto my piece of fabric. I've done it on purpose because I want this side simply glued down, but I want this side to become a tuck spot. And and I said that we would do that together. So we will. Now, I had a little bit of a, what do I do? Well, I know what I would have done, but my little easy peasy way of this next step, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for. I almost took away one of my little shortcuts that I love to use. Hold on. I had to get my trusty bricks. Because I have 2 desks and I use my bricks for many things, I got myself 2 more bricks and wrapped them. So these are my newly wrapped bricks. So there we go. There is our text block. Now I also have somewhere in my room, I cannot find it, I have a serviette or a paper napkin holder that I can put my text blocks in to do this next step. And it works really well. I can't find it anywhere. That's why my bricks are always handy, because I use them to flatten out tags I'm working on. Anything that needs flattening, you can just grab your brick and put it on top. If it's bigger than your brick, you can use a larger surface, put it on top first, then put the brick on it, that sort of thing. A wrapped brick, 2 wrapped bricks are, I would say, up there with your best friends. Anyhow, one of my shortcuts for this next step is always, almost always, using one of the folios out of the original text block. And the reason why it's a nice shortcut is it's already the size of your the template that you've sewn your folios, your signatures onto. So it just saves some of the cutting there, and it's usually nice thin paper. It can be a bit of a problem if there are, if the paper is kind of cracky. I do think this paper is a little bit cracky, but I'm going to be doing it differently. Sometimes I put the paper all the way across the entire length of the width of the fabric. But sometimes I really only want the fabric to be my hinge when I glue it into the text block. And that is the case here. This cotton fabric is more than strong enough to suspend a text block into a cover. Think about it for any of the books that you have cut apart. Sometimes you'll find them just with 2 bands that have suspended your book. Sometimes you'll find a text block that has been suspended into the cover just using maul, and sometimes gauze. Sometimes really old books have like 3 or 4 cords, like strings of cotton, suspending it into the text block. So an entire length of cotton fabric is going to be strong enough to hold a text block into a cover, in my opinion. But sometimes there's things you want to do with that text block where gluing the paper onto the back is will help you out. Now, one of the things I still always do is I always like to glue either paper or gauze, especially even if I'm going to leave these wings without paper on them, I will still put paper, I will still glue and put paper on these threads just to give them extra strength. And that way, if one of the threads breaks on the other side, they'll still be held firmly in place because I've glued the threads in between the 2 pieces of cardboard. So I'm going to try and lift my camera up because as of right now I can't get my glue bottle upside down. So I'm going to pause and we should be up higher in a second. There we go. So lucky for me, although I did discard the rest of the original text block, mostly because I didn't enjoy this book, I found the title made me chuckle, which is why I kept it, because Perfect Womanhood, I mean, I'm sorry, it still makes me chuckle. But the inside of the book, I don't know, I thought the author was a little bit harsh on us ladies, especially given that he most likely, anyhow, it's opinions that I didn't think were applicable. So I'm going to, so thank goodness I still had my template. I get myself into these things where chattering on. I still had my template, thank goodness. And so I've already pre-measured and cut. I want a piece of paper just to glue down on top. And like I said, that will secure all my signature threads. See how they're kind of loosey-goosey right now? And if one broke, eventually, and I hadn't glued it down, eventually that whole signature could unravel and come out. But by having just one break by accident, who knows, I guess it could happen by accident, the other stitches would still be held in place because it's been glued down. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So my next step is going to be to use whatever glue you want. At this point, I do find any glue is fine. I'm just going to use 3-in-1. I try and be ready because I'm going to spread it thin. It's going to want to dry quickly. So I try to have everything ready, have this pre-cut and ready, have my silicone makeup brush ready, and then go for it. So I do the center part first, and I try and move those threads around, and especially wherever there's holes. So if some of the glue wants to go down those holes, it's free to do so. Again, just to give extra security. And then the last thing I will do is make sure I go around the edge, try and make it thin because it's going to try and squish out the sides. Yes, I make big knots. I just don't want to pull it by accident through the hole when I'm sewing. So I've never found my big knots to be to interfere. So you do you. And so here's where I'm spreading it out. I sort of wiggle those signature threads around so that I know that even underneath the glue got on those threads. And spread it around. Especially those corners. There we go. And then I take my piece of paper and stick it on like that. And then get whatever it is you happen to use to smooth small things down. I use one of my happy things, and that is a room card from a cruise we went on. Makes me happy, and I think about the cruise. I remember this cruise on the Norwegian, I think it was the Norwegian Sun. Yes, it was. That was a good cruise. Be happy when we can go on cruises again. But right now it's just not a good time in the world, I feel, for me. My anxiety would be through the roof. I would not enjoy myself. Our Canadian dollar wouldn't go very far. The cruise would probably cost us 175% more. All right, there we go. So that's in place. And then here's where I would turn it over and get my, a bone folder. You can use a ruler in this case. And I just go in between the signatures, and here's where your post-it notes come in handy. You can find those signatures fast, and just make sure that your glue is well applied by just giving a little, I don't know, sound effects makes it feel like it's stronger. And just give it a good push, and that part too. So that's good. I usually find that that is enough, and if I had centered this and this was just going to be a normal text block going into my cover, I would put it in like this now. Oh wait, I would I sign mine. I know it's silly, but I've seen actual bookbinders who fix historical books. That doesn't want to go on there. And they will sign theirs. And I thought, you know what? I'm giving this book new life. So I sign mine. And then I just put the year there. So that's good. Now normally, imagine, if you will, that these wings are symmetrical. This is when I would glue this down, glue this down, glue these on a slight angle, and then it would go in, and I'd glue it into place so that you have a lovely floppy text block inside your cover. But we're going to make this into a tuck spot today. So that means I have an extra step to do on my wing. Of course, again, here's my childish side. I say wing and it makes me think of maxi pads. So there you go. I'll say it. Someone had to say it. So now I'm going to take a piece of this folio. I knew it would come to me. And I'm going to measure it out. Doesn't need, I don't need it to be the full length because I like this little fringe here. So it's going to come to there. I'm going to, I don't want that to dry. I'm going to erase my first pencil notch there. And then I'm going to cut this, and we'll move to the next step. Okay, so I've got this. Let me move my bricks out of the way. I'm going to come down a bit. There we go. And then this one I am going to glue right there, like that. So I'm going to need some paper. I'm just reaching for it in case you wondered where'd she go. I was just reaching for paper. And we'll do the same thing. I'm going to work quickly. I'm going to use my handy dandy silicone makeup brush. So I'm going to do the center first. Don't need a whole lot, but I want it to be nice and firm. I'm going to go around the edge as the last thing I do. And then I'm going to spread that. I guess you could use fabric fusion tape if you wanted to for this step. I think that would work. There we go. And now we are going to get that out of the way. We're going to lay this down right here. And I'm just going to eyeball to make sure I've got it centered. That will still give me a cottony hinge, but it will make this part, let me see, good. It will make this part stronger. There we go. Good. Now, I'm going to do something. Wait, I'm going to measure first. Measure first, right? Cut once. Measure twice, cut once. So let's measure and see if I'm going to want this even, since I'm not laying down. I'm not going to be laying down end papers on top. Normally, see, I'm thinking and not telling you what I'm thinking. Normally these wings, I would angle them down just slightly so that they slowly disappear under what's going to be, they slowly disappear. There, my hand wasn't in the thing. under under the new end papers. But in this case, they are not going to be going under end papers. They are going to be just going on top of the new end papers. So it's okay if they are the full length. Yeah. So I don't have to. I used that paper clip so that I can see where they're going to be. Where's another one? Come on, paper clip. Where are you? Oh, come on. Sorry for the delay. There, that's better. Now I can see where those are going to lie when I put it in. And that's good. Okay, so now what I'm doing, hopefully it makes sense to you, because what I'm going to do is I'll be putting glue along just here, probably about 1/4 of an inch along there. I'll be putting glue under there and under there to suspend this side of the text block. And then what that will do is that creates us a nice fortified tuck spot. I'm going to take a look. I'll be pausing and I'm going to go take a look and see if maybe there's a nice ribbon or a nice edging that I can put along here. I was thinking of lace, but I think lace might get in the way of moving things in and out. So I'm thinking I might put, if I can find a pretty little ribbon and run a strip of ribbon along here. And if not, I very much like just that little torn edge, because if I put a ribbon there, I'm going to need I feel like I need to make them balanced and have both sides with a little bit of ribbon. I'm going to pause. I'm going to go feed little you-know-who her LUNCH, and myself as well. And then it'll seem like a split second for you, but it'll be probably about 45 minutes for me. And then we will finish this together. So hold that thought. Okay, so lunch is done and I'm looking at the time on the clock, and I think there's going to be a part 2 for finishing the edge of the text block and then putting it into the cover. So and I may want to do some work in it first before I put it into the cover. So that's another reason why I'm going to hold off on part 2. So this is how we've got it so far. And if you've made your own junk journals before, you know where this is leading to. This is where, you would glue this down, and then these are the little pieces of lace that will be going on the head and foot so that they stick out like that. And I will bring you along when I do it, or at least that's the plan. But I don't think I want to do it yet, because I think I want to work in this while it's still easy to maneuver, in case I still want to do some sewing. This is a whole lot easier to fit under the free arm of my sewing machine than if I've already got it in the hardcover. Does that make sense? So that's the plan. So we got a lot of it done today, but we'll finish the rest of it off when the timing is better, when I have more things put inside it now to decorate and make it pretty. So there we go. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope it's beautiful where I am today. It's sunny. it's just the right warm so that the nights are lovely and cool. And, you know, I'm a lots of blankets on 365 days a year. So, I need blankets to sleep. Even when it's sweltering hot, I will find a way to get a blanket on me. It's just me, and I know I'm not alone in that. So this weather for me, it's my favorite. Sadly, winter comes afterwards. There's always that looming in your head. Anyhow, you know the routine. If you're still here after all that, I hope you'll take a second and say hi down below, and I'll say hi back at you. Let me know what you're up to, what you're doing, or if you have any questions about what I did or what I plan on doing, write them in down below, and I'll do my best to answer. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon. Bye.